So, somebody asked me about the economy today. They did. They said, Tom, what do you think about the economy? My answer was, what about the economy? I think the economy is going the opposite direction. I want to know what you guys think about the economy. I'm going to tell you something. The business I'm in, appliances, it is definitely affected by the economy. I consider myself a bottom feeder when it comes to the business that I'm in. You know, I'm like the last stop for the washers, dryers, refrigerators, stoves. You know, they don't work and I can't fix them. I haul them off to the junkyard. And they can have one simple thing wrong with them. But during COVID, I did a lot better during COVID than I am now. What was the economy like during COVID? It's a good question, isn't it? What was the economy during COVID? Was the economy good during COVID? Bad? Huh. But yeah, the economy, what's it like? I think the economy is going the wrong way. And I think when the economy goes the wrong way, I think there's a small group of people that make money. That's what I think. You know what's interesting? I'm gonna tell you what's interesting. The professions, the professionals, the nurses, the doctors, the lawyers, the professionals. You know what I'm saying? Um, you're starting to see people who are in positions. You're starting to see them talk about how it's hard to live. You know, you're starting to hear, and that's when you know the economy is not holding up. So I was listening to a YouTuber, and he was talking about what states to live in. And another YouTuber was talking about what states that are most people are exiting out of. You know the number one state that people are exiting out of? Texas. You know what I'm saying? And different, and I say it as a state, but he broke it down in cities. And he was saying, yeah, Houston, Dallas, people are leaving, and of course, New York, but Texas, a lot of people leave. A lot of people are leaving New York. There's mass exodus happening. Atlanta, a lot of people are leaving. But when I hear the professionals, when I hear the women start talking about, hey, this is where I work, I'm a professional, this, and I'm struggling. When I hear that, I go, the economy is failing us. Because these are mainstay positions. A nurse is a mainstay. Nurses make good money. They do good overtime. They can easily hit $100,000 when the nurse is struggling. When the nurse has to stay in her mother's house or her dad's house, when the nurse has to have a roommate, this is where you know you're in trouble because these mainstay positions are usually good paying. So you're starting to hear people in those positions talking about how hard it is to live. And then when you start looking at where these people are living and how much money they're making, and then how much money they have to make to live, you start going, we're all in trouble. We're all in trouble. Because the working poor is starting to expand not only outward, meaning it's getting to more positions. Okay, so the working poor used to be people who worked at where? Fast food. They're like, oh, you work at McDonald's, blah, 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 blah. Salute. So they would go, oh, you work at McDonald's, blah, blah. Why? Why did people go, you work at McDonald's and then kind of, why? Because it was, you were part of the working poor. Diddy needs money. You know he owns apartments too. He owns a whole apartment building. It costs like 25 G's a month to stay in this building. Like that dude, he's got his hands in a lot of stuff. But as far as the working poor is concerned, the working poor is spreading out this way. So it's starting to hit more positions, right? But now the working poor is it's also doing this. So it's not only hitting more positions, it's hitting more positions. Yeah, I lost weight. I'm 258 now. Yeah, I'm 258, man. Yeah, I've been cutting out the sugar, not as much sugar, and I've been doing that little up and down push-up thing I've been doing. Yeah, I've been doing that, man. My stomach is like, I don't know about a yellow. But yeah, man, I'm losing weight, man. I'm 258. I'm trying to get down to, you know what I'm telling you? I wouldn't mind being a solid 250. Like a Hardaway 250. Like LL Cool J when he was in Any Given Sunday 250. Like a Ray Lewis 250. I'll never do that, but I wouldn't mind being a solid 250. Throwing up 350. Shoot, man, I can't hit 315 anymore, man. I'm tired. Boom! You know what I'm saying? But yeah, I wouldn't mind staying at a good solid 250. I mean, if I go down to 220, I'm okay with that. But I like 250. I just need to, you know, I need to eat. Hit the gym. Boom! Boom! You know what I mean? Anyway, so the economy is spanning outwards and upwards, and it's hitting people that usually it doesn't hit. It's hitting the professionals, the people with degrees and certifications. You know, it's hitting, you know, those people. And I tell you another thing that the economy is doing. It's forcing people, it's forcing people's hands. So, but anyway, somebody just asked me about the economy, so I just want to talk about that. It's forcing people's hands to live ways that they don't usually live. It is also forcing people out of retirement. So you got the people who are 65, 70, and they're like, I'm retired. Well, the economy is forcing them to go back to work. So this is why you're seeing a Walmart worker, the one that got, you know, he got unaligned. You saw this happen because the dude was like 65, 70 years old. And he was trying to stop somebody from doing wrong and walking out. And when the young man who's all of 25, the old dude smashed him, old dude like this, and old boy fell, and when he fell, that was the end of him. So, I mean, let's just face it, 70-year-old men and women do not need to compete with a 22, 23-year-old or a 40-year-old in that fact. We don't need it. They're way too fast. These kids are into all kind of stuff. Your reflexes is too fast. Just don't do it. Just be like, hey, have a good day. If they're walking out with God doggone, radio or TV, and I'm 70, I'm not going to be like, now you wait a minute, mister. I'm going to be like, yo, you know what you're doing is wrong? Okay, all right. That young man right there is walking out with a TV. Take a picture, because there he goes. Now, what I might do is after he walks out, I might go ahead and hit the camera, but boom, there he is. Maybe catch a little license plate, hopefully, but wrestle with him? Absolutely not. I'm not grabbing nothing out of your hand. I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it. So there's that. That's what I think about the economy. I think the economy is really getting a hold of people that it shouldn't. And now you have people who, when they think a career, they don't really think a career. They are winging it. They're going to a job. They're not even staying at those jobs long. And then they're leaving. I was listening to somebody talk about like fast food, Burger King. And even though they raised the minimum wage, they still can't keep people. You'll see signs all over the place talking about hiring because they can't keep people. $17, $18 an hour. Depends on where you live. In the state of Ohio, that's not terrible. Where your rent you can get a place for $1,000. A little one-bedroom action going on. But when you're talking about New York, where the rent is $6,000, a lot of the people there are still losing their place to stay. And these are, like I said, these are traditional workers. These people are losing their spots because the rent, they're competing with each other. And the rent is going up, from 2,000 or 25. I heard the rent is going up to 6,000, and it's just pure madness. And a lot of people are like, I cannot afford $6,000 in rent. And they're like, I don't know what I'm going to do. Some people have made a mass exodus back to other countries. So, yeah, it's rough. What's good, Noodle? What up? You look, neighbors, I look like neighbors. I don't know what that means. I guess that's a good thing. I could be your neighbor. Would you be mine? Could you be mine? Would you be my neighbor? But yeah, so that's what's going on in the economy. Just, wanted to hit on that. You guys know if you ask me about a subject, I will talk about it. And just give you my thoughts. For those of you who don't know, I am almost 60 years old. So, I have I can tell you what it was like in the 60s, 70s, 80s, all the way up to now. Because I'm almost 60 years old. So, and I can tell you what the economy was doing. I can tell you what the price of gas was. Hey, that's cool. I would mind being your neighbor. What up, neighbor? I can tell you what the price of gas was back in the 70s. Or you could look it up. And that's another interesting thing, too, because I'm using a lot of 87 now instead of the 88, 89, and 90s. So when it comes to gas, I use 87. And I noticed there was a line today at the gas station right there, and I think the gas went down. That's why there was a line. So, I wouldn't mind if the gas returned back to whatever it was doing. That would be cool. Like maybe $2. That would be cool. You don't 60 tone. You look 40. Thank you. I don't have no gray hair. I'll have like one or two gray hairs or something, but I will be 56 next month. So yeah. And one of the reasons why I don't look other than the gray hair, well, I'm gonna tell you something. Gray hair will grow on me, then it'll fall off. So I don't know why I don't have streaks of it, but it'll grow and then it'll be like, okay, I'm out. I don't like it here. I'm leaving. So that's why I don't have. Every now and then I'll see some on my beard, and next thing you know, they're gone. And somebody's like, oh, that's because you dye your hair. I'm like, do I look like I have time to dye my hair? Do I look like I care about dyeing my hair? Man, if I got some gray on me somewhere, I'm like, okay, it's gray. What do you want me to do? But I got an older brother. You can't tell that he's almost 60. You can't tell. He doesn't have a bunch of gray hair. So there's that. Yeah, I don't have any gray hair. Yeah, so that's what I think about the economy. But there's a lot of stuff you can still get into and make some money. I'm looking at getting into some insurance stuff. I actually thought about going to law school, but because I wanted to get a degree and I wanted to be a civil rights lawyer. I'm still thinking about that. I'm still thinking about it. I started to look at, I looked at the college that I was thinking about going. I haven't applied. I was just starting to look at, the LSAT and all that other stuff you got to take. And do I really feel like studying that hard, pass the bar? You know what? I would actually, law school is 3 years. And it costs $34,000 at the school I want, which is Moritz. I don't have $34,000, but that's why you get loans. I don't know. I just wouldn't mind being a civil rights lawyer. I think I would do good as a civil rights lawyer because civil rights are being violated all the time. The thing about me is I don't really do stuff for money that much. And I would have to snap out of that if I was a civil rights lawyer because I would have stuff to pay for. And I just think it would be cool to be a civil rights lawyer. I think helping people out, that's how I can help people out the most. And I just like it. You know what I mean? So I'm thinking about it. I don't know. It's just a thought. It's just a thought right now. I'm just trying to do some research right now. By the time I get out of law school, I would probably be about 59. And people would be like, okay, why do you want to be a lawyer now at 59 years old? Well, it's not so much that I want to get out there and start beating the pavement or nothing. It's just that I like knowing, and I like knowing how to help other people. And a lot of times you can help other people without really taking a case. You know what I'm saying? Like I had to talk to a lawyer today. She was like, this, that, and the third. She helped me out. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah. Now, of course, would I take cases? Of course, because I need to make payments. I need to, so I couldn't help every bleeding heart that came to me. But I could see myself having my own practice. And, of course, you're going to have people who are rich, who are poor, this, that, and the third. And, you work it out. Some people aren't going to pay you. And, you're going to want to help them. But it's like, I can't help you other than uh, uh, go down a small claims corridor or represent yourself. You know what I'm saying? But I'm not going to represent you without you paying me some kind of something. Like, especially if I did a pro bono before and here you come back to me saying, I want to continue this, I'm going to tell you I can no longer help you. And that's the way Capital Law School does it. If you have a case with them, they'll take your case, but if it continues on to something, they're finished. So they're like, hey, we can't help you anymore. And I can understand if a lawyer does that. Like, I gave you pro bono, your case got, dismissed or whatever, and now you're trying to do something else, but you want to come to me. The answer is I cannot help you. Will I take your call? Probably, but it'd be a very short call. Or I might say just email me and I might hit you back or have my secretary hit you back. But I know you don't have any money, so I understand that. But you're not in jail, so that's cool. But as far as taking on your case and doing all this work and making no money, the answer is absolutely not. I'm not doing that. I can't help you no further. So yeah, I'm thinking about that. I was looking at retainer fees, and of course that's putting the cart before the horse. But you want to know how much one of these lawyers make? You're looking at in between $61 and $133,000. So it's not bad. If you're doing median, a civil rights lawyer in this country, median is doing about $80,000. So it's not terrible at all. It affords you a nice little condo. You know what I'm saying? Or if you want, if you get married, you can have a nice house in the burbs. And I'm sure that really goes into hours and billing hours and all that stuff and working. I'm not really interested in working myself to death. I'm interested in really helping people, but I still want to make money. I don't need to drive a brand new Mercedes, but I wouldn't mind having an up-to-date Tahoe. You know what I'm saying? So it's just a thought. It's just something that's swimming around in my head. Plus, if I had my own practice, I can do what I want, when I want, wherever I want. And I would probably aim towards government work. So I want to say that I would probably aim towards, I can't work for the UN, but as far as being on their payroll, I can't work for the UN, but I could see me doing some contract work for them because I used to be military, and I could see them saying, hey, I want you to go over to, Islamabad or something and look at this situation and I'd be like, as a lawyer, and be like, yeah, as a lawyer, and, see what human, right, blah, 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 and then probably file cases with the federal government, in different countries and all that, because there's a lot of human rights being violated in the world. And I would be interested in doing some of that. I'd be interested in as being like a contract lawyer and going to some of these countries, sitting down and hashing out some human rights, whatever, and getting some of that together so there could be basic human rights and basic civil rights, and the governments that are in place, they can understand, listen, this is going against somebody's civil rights. And one of these cases is the gay community that is in some of these African countries. So if you're not aware, the LGBTQ community is they're not doing too well in some of these countries. And the reason why is because a lot of the African countries are very, 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 very traditional. Man, woman, child. That's it. That's all. They're not interested in fumbling that around and trying to see what they can come up with. But the LGBTQ community has infiltrated the African communities, and now you're starting to see men dressed as women and walking up and down, and they're like, hey, this is my basic human right to express myself. But the African countries, what they're doing is they're saying, listen, you come over here and you express yourself as a homosexual. Okay, fine. Here's the problem though. We know that the homosexual community has a high AIDS population. So they kind of spun this thing around. They're like, all right, you want to be homosexual? Nothing we could do about that. However, if we find out, here's the gray matter, you guys. If we find out that any of you are spreading AIDS over here, you will be put in jail. What's going on? So they're saying, yeah, any of you who are spreading AIDS, you'll be put in jail. And once again, there's some human rights involved in that whole action and that whole breaking the traditional family that the LGBTQ is doing. And they're starting to have these gay parades and some of these. But see, over when you're in somebody else's country that is, second or third world, you're looking at the way they deal with criminal activity. Not everybody does things like America. We get away with a lot of stuff over here that somebody in Dubai you can't do. There's no open affection in Dubai. Is that against your basic human rights? If you're with your wife or husband and your man, woman, and you're walking down the street and you guys are minding your business and you kiss your wife, you're in trouble. It's like, why? What is this against? There's no public affection. If you throw some garbage on the street, you're in big trouble. If you raise your voice to certain people, big trouble. There's a lot of these things. And when I say in big trouble, I mean you're going to jail for 3-4 years. I don't mean that you're going to get a ticket and that's it. In Dubai, you're going to jail for years if you violate some of these smaller things. You know what I'm saying? And so you're looking at some very, very steep punishments. And in some of these African countries, they're telling the LGBT community, listen, you come over here, you spread AIDS out to anyone, you're getting executed. Now we have a problem. It's one thing to say, hey, if you're spreading AIDS, we're going to penalize you because you're spreading AIDS, you're making other people sick. We know that LGBTQ has a high AIDS population, so on and so forth. We're trying to keep this down. Some countries, they don't have any AIDS cases. And, in a lot of these other sicknesses they say come out of Africa, it isn't even in their country. A lot of these cases aren't in their country. So they're like, if you're going to come in here, we know you're bringing these diseases in here. And we don't want that. So guess what they're going to do? They're going to find a way to penalize you. And they want it to be so strict that they want to strike fear in anybody else who tries to come into their country doing the same thing. And this is why human rights needs, human rights activists, human rights lawyers, government officials, they all need to sit down because there's about to be a bloodbath. You do know in China, they still will execute you quick. In North Korea, they do not care. They will execute you by feeding you to dogs, literally. It's not figurative. This is not a matter. They will literally feed you to dogs. China, they just take you outside, bang, in the head. There's a black man that just died because a Chinese woman was running a shop and the guy's girlfriend couldn't get her money. And the lady was like, I'll pay you next week. She was like, no, you pay me now. You're telling me you don't want me here, pay me now. Well, she got on the phone and called 5 of her thugs because the boyfriend was like, give us our money so we can go about our business. We won't come back. She gets on the phone, the 5 thugs come in, they grab the mail. They take him out the back door, put him in the car, go somewhere. The dude is missing. When they find him again, he's beat up so bad, they take him to the hospital. He's dead. Was somebody basic human rights violated? Absolutely. Absolutely. Now, were those people who did it, were they discovered? Yeah, they went on a run. The Chinese lady went on a run, and her Chinese goons went on a run, and they found them. Are they going to be put in jail for what they did? We don't know. But they killed an African American. So, like I said, there are some basic human rights civil rights that are being violated all over the country. There are more slaves now than there's ever been before. And I wouldn't mind getting into some of those negotiations. One, I'm ex-military. I've done some traveling before also. And I already have a degree in healthcare. So this type of thing, as far as how it looks in healthcare, that's a whole another avenue, but something I could easily dip into because I like the healthcare atmosphere. And another thing I like is healthcare. Like when I look at healthcare, I look at the criminal aspect of healthcare. That's all I'm interested in. I mean, the healthcare is so big and it's constantly expanded, but I like to see what the criminals are doing because, believe it or not, your taxes are being driven up by healthcare. And if you want to know how that goes, in a nutshell, if Aunt May is 65 and she needs a new walker and she's going to get it from Medicare, Aunt May's on Medicare. Aunt May's going to contact Medicare and she's going to say, hey, I need a new walker. Medicare is going to say, hey, we're going to get you a new walker. But then they're going to find out that her old walker wasn't broken. Now, there are going to be stipulations that Aunt May would have had to go through just to get that new walker. And she's going to fill that information out herself. And somewhere along the line, she's going to tell a lie. She's going to say, this was broken. And, if somebody sees her using the old one after she ordered the new one, she committed fraud. What's her punishment? She can be punished up to 6 months in jail, plus a fine of around $2,000, $2,500. And it depends on what court it goes to by how much was taken. So if she ordered 5 of these things and it, handed them out to her friends, and each one of these walkers, I don't know, was made of gold, whatever. And let's just say they cost over $10,000. Well, now you're looking at it's a federal crime. Now you're looking at the feds who are going to, pretty much put you in court. You're going to go through your local courts, and then the feds are going to have to deal with you because you stole over a certain amount. You frauded the government from over a certain amount. Also, the people who are frauding the government, a lot of them are frauding the government for very little money. This is why the feds don't come knocking at their door, but the feds already know you're doing it. One of these cases is the PPP loans. The PPP loans are not grants, they're loans. So you're seeing a lot of people going to jail for the PPP loans because they didn't read the fine print. Those loans were only given to you so you can use them for your business. If you use that money outside of your business, well, you're defrauding the government. And this is why a lot of people get caught, because they had small businesses and then they used the money for something that had nothing to do with their business. And some people were saying that they had businesses, and which was true, but they were applying for more money than what they needed. So if you had a small business and you needed $20,000, or you felt like you because of COVID, in 2020, you lost $20,000. The PPP will come and try to cover that money and would charge you very little interest, but you still had to pay it back, right? Well, you're like, I wonder, when you do for one, it went by taxes. That's how a lot of people got caught. But when you did your taxes, you're just like $20,000. You know what I'm saying? And that's legit. So you did your PPP for 20,000. Nobody's gonna bother you because they're going to look at your taxes, they're going to look at you, they're going to look at your business and what you're selling carpets or whatever, and you lost 20,000 because people had to stay in a house. They're going to agree with you. We could see how you lost $20,000. Here's $20,000. Here's a 3% interest. Pay us back slowly. This is going to be your payment. Boom, everything's fine. But let's say you still have the small mom and shop carpet place, but you said $100,000. What they're going to do is they're going to look at your taxes and they're going to look at your sales. They're going to see if you were selling anywhere close to $100,000 at any point, especially right before COVID hit. And they're going to take that measurement or that last year's income, because they already have it because you filed taxes. They're going to look at that and then they're going to go, you were only doing $16,000, $15,000 here. Why all of a sudden do you need $100,000? And you already received that money. So you defrauded the government. And you can go to federal prison for that. For those of you who don't know, federal prison does not have speedy trials. So if you defraud the government and the feds come knocking on your door, just like if you're here illegally and the feds come knocking on your door, well, listen, they're going to take you to regular prison, but you committed a federal crime. So you understand that. So you're going to be in the same tank with people who committed felonies and maybe some misdemeanors, but you're probably going to be in there with everybody who committed felonies, right? You'll be in an 8-man tank and you're going to have a white band around your wrist. Well, they don't really do that no more, but that's what they used to do to signify what level of problem you caused, what you're in there for. So you had the orange, the blue, and the white, something like that. But if you saw a white one, you knew that person was in for a federal crime. All right. You could be in there for years before they give you trial. One guy committed a crime that I know of. He was in there for 6 months and he still didn't go to trial. You see what I mean? So it's different with the feds because they don't have to give you a speedy trial. I want my lawyer. You can get your lawyer all you want. The federal government is not in a hurry. And a lot of people are doing stuff now that they don't even know the government's watching them. And when the government sees that you've done up to so much, then they go and get you. And if you don't know, the government has a 95% conviction rate. You're going to get conviction. You're going to get convicted. Why? Because they wait for you to make the dumb mistakes. All the heavy hitter drug dealers out there, gun runners and all that, they know about every single one of them. Every single one, right down to Junior. They know all of you. None of you are doing nothing that the government does not know about. So I just wanted to, say that. And all the mistakes that you're making, the government already knows. But yeah, so when it comes to healthcare, it's the same thing. If you have an operation and you're having your secretaries, enroll you for something for a complaint that you do not actually have. Once the federal government starts seeing that you're collecting Medicare, Medicaid, and they're automatically sending these payments out to you, what they're going to do is they're going to see a fluctuation in those payments. And once they see a spike in those payments, that spike is going to send off, beep, beep, beep. And they're going to start examining you, and they're going to want to know why you have this sudden spike in your income. What's going on. And if they constantly see that number going like this, and it's doing it very erratically, and it's just, they're like, was ist los mit der? You know what I'm saying? Was magst du? they're going to be like, "What's up? How are you?" And they're going to come and see you. And then they might even send an agent to come see you, depending on what it is. And yeah, so healthcare is very, very fickle. But a lot of people think they're ripping the government off, and you're really not ripping the government off. The government's just waiting for you, and you're going to make a mistake because you're brazen. You're like, the government ain't said nothing to me in 5 years. There's a reason for that. The government is waiting for you to hit a certain number. Once you hit that number, whoop, and they're not going to come with the whole ATF joint. They're just going to walk up to you and say, "Hey, my name is so and so. I am with the FBI. How you doing today? Are you so and so?" And you're gonna go, "No, I don't know who you are." Blah blah blah. And then they're pretty much gonna let you know what you've been doing. They've been watching you, and you're coming with them. And as soon as you act like you're not gonna go, your car's gonna be surrounded, and you're gonna be looking down the barrel of a couple M16s. It's not what you want to do. So yeah. So there is that. So watch yourself, people. No problem, man. I'm just rambling. Shoot, man. Talking about the federal government and me looking at being a lawyer. I was just thinking about it. It's just a thought. I had talked to somebody about. They said, if you get your master's degree, they work with you. They don't just say, "Hey, it's all this money." I was also looking up some of the schools not to apply for because a lot of these schools are for profits, and they have low LSAT scores. And then those people, once they get out, those people don't even pass the bar. Yeah. Hey, what's going on? So yeah, so you got people who are not even passing the bar, and they've gone to these schools for 3 years, and they're not passing the bar. And then you got some people who, just so you know, you don't have to go to college to pass the bar. Yeah. And now what they're doing, in 2025, they're gonna say, "Hey, you know what? You don't have to take." I don't think it's the LSAT, but what else is it? It's not the SAT. It's not the LSAT. It might be the LSAT, but they're gonna say you don't have to take the LSAT to get into college, to get into law school. So in 2025, they're gonna do that. They're gonna say you do not have to take this to get into law school. So I was thinking about going to grad school, and they used to make you take the SRT. I believe that's what it is. You do not have to take an SRT to get into college, to get into grad school anymore. I'm thinking about it. I'm looking at it. I'm just looking at it. I don't know. It feels kind of right to me to, I'm just thinking about it. You know what I mean? I'm just thinking about it. I'm not sure, but I haven't seen anything to deter me yet, other than I don't have $34,000. But I could get $34,000. You can go to your credit union and see if they can get you money. But like I said, these schools do not make it. I'm noticing the schools in the school systems are not making it hard for you to get these degrees anymore. They're really not. You know what I'm saying? But I just enjoy helping people. You know what I mean? And I like the fact that being a lawyer, you can be your own man. A lot of the professions I talk about, I don't want to work in an office with a bunch of people, have to wrestle with people. I like the contract jobs where I can be in and be out. Like I just had a refrigerator delivery the other day. I was in there, boom, and out, boom, I got paid. You know what I'm saying? So, no veteran grants? That, my friend, is a good question. Now, the thing about the government, they paid for my college. So you guys know, they paid for my college, but I was going to college for a minute. They paid for the end of my college. I have a degree in health administration. And I've been sitting here for years going, what do I want to do with myself? What do I want to do? And now I'm just looking into being a civil rights. I was thinking about a healthcare lawyer, but everybody needs help in healthcare. But the thing about healthcare lawyers or healthcare law, it didn't really get me to go, yeah, I want to be a healthcare lawyer. You know what I mean? But what made me want to say, okay, civil rights, I like civil rights better. What made me say that is because there are a lot of civil rights being violated. And I just think sitting in that position, I could do more help for, people who don't think that, I just think I can do more help for people who don't think they have a chance. And this is all over the world. Like I said, it's not just here. This is anywhere. I still wouldn't mind being that guy that they send out to go ahead and negotiate. I just like that idea. And for those of you who don't know, there are companies that hire veterans. And what they do is they'll send you overseas or something like that. And they do this so you can work in the profession that you were in the military. For me, it would be food service. So, and you go there, like they'll send you to Afghanistan or whatever, and you'll be behind enemy lines, but whatever you did in the military, that's what you'll do. So there are companies who do that, and that's how you do your thing. So it's kind of up to you. I'm just thinking about it. I really don't want to go back into debt, $34,000 plus your books and all that. But if I can find a way to get grants and I can get into law school, I will go to law school. I will definitely go. And I know it's going to be a headache. It's a lot of learning. But I'll give it the old college try. I will definitely be like, you know what? If I get in, test in or whatever, I will definitely go, And, yeah. I'll definitely go. Good vibes. Yeah, I just I don't know, man. I just feel like right, yeah. I don't have any kids. I just feel, I feel like I can do some good somewhere. You know what I'm saying? And being a lawyer, I don't think I can change the world, but I think I can help write some laws. That's really what I'm after. I think I can. I think I can read over some laws and help some people, you know, get the. You know what I'm saying? Get their footing. I really wouldn't mind working with other governments. I would, you know what I'm saying? Well, I've been thinking about being a lawyer on and off for. I started thinking about it after I graduated, but I didn't take it serious. But I didn't think about it seriously until a couple weeks ago because I had looked into it before. I wanted to know if Ohio State had a law school. They do. It's a school within a school. Moritz College. Ohio State is a reputable name. Moritz College is a reputable name. Uh, In state cost me 34. Out of state cost me 50. I think I can knock off a part-time job. You know what I'm saying? Get a little part-time, whatever. I would probably move from here on to into a campus area, or just not far from the campus, so I could just foot it there, or my bike or whatever, do something. So that's a thing, and yeah, I wouldn't mind learning the law. Uh, Especially with a lot of the unrest that's going on, the violence, the clashes between the civilians and the police. Can I go the paralegal route? Probably. I could become a paralegal and see what it's all about and get a little taste of it, and probably have a firm. Go ahead and help me out. You know what I'm saying? The cool thing with having an administrative degree is you can kind of fit anywhere. I get emails all the time about people who want me to work for them in different areas. Like I got a email about being a construction supervisor. I got an email the other day about being an um, administrator for a construction, not a construction company, I forgot what it was. But yeah, so I get emails like that, and I would rather work in healthcare. But yeah, now they said, hey, come work for us part time. I would have probably done it by now. But they want me to work full time, and I'm not too sure about that. But I'm going to start hitting some of these people back and say, what's it pay? You know what I'm saying? Because a lot of these jobs, they say they are looking for someone with the skills that I have. So they already looked up my resume and they saw that I graduated, with a BA. Um, so they're looking for, and sometimes these people are looking for somebody to come in and run a whole office. I can run her office, but I'm not going to be the one doing all your typing. And I type 45 words a minute. I don't type 60 to 90. I'm not going to be that guy. I am not going to be your PowerPoint guy, even though I can do a PowerPoint presentation. I can definitely do a presentation. That's not, but I'm going to be the one who is, administering people and say, hey, this needs to be done, this. I'm not going to be your billing guy, but I understand some billing. I understand some of your ICD 10 codes. So there's that. Um, and I'm familiar with some things in Medicare, Medicaid. You know what I mean? I'm always I'm always learning more about that because Medicare and Medicaid is part of my life, and I'm learning that there are different sections of Medicare, Medicaid, and what you can do with them. So it's very interesting dynamics. And most of the time, the office is going to be dealing with people who have disabilities. So you're talking Medicare, Medicaid right there. You're talking offices that um, even a veteran, somebody could come in and they're a veteran, but they're coming into a private office. So who do I bill? Who do I bill? If the veteran comes in and hands me and it says, and I say, "Who's your insurance?" and the veteran goes, "Well, I'm a veteran," and he says, "I also have Humana," and I say, I say, "Okay, you're a veteran." Boom. You also have Humana. Boom. You know what I'm gonna think? He has Medicare and Medicaid, and that's who I'm gonna bill. Yeah, I'm gonna bill Medicare and Medicaid, and it all depends on what he's getting. What's going on with him? A military lawyer. Well, there's those too. But yeah, so I'm gonna look at him and go, you're gonna want to be billed. So if he has Medicaid Part B and we have a copay for what he's coming in for, say he's coming in to get his feet. Say I work for a podiatrist and there's more than one. So say this office has two podiatrists, right? Um, so we're so the ladies or the men up front in the front office, they're going to be dealing with a lot of the front end customer stuff. So the customer comes in, they're going to schedule them, dismiss them, in process, that whole thing. Uh, but any questions outside of their scope, they're going to come to me as far as the administrator goes. I'm going to make sure everything runs. The doctors don't do that. They see the patients, they boom, they get them out. We go ahead and bill whoever their insurance is. I make sure that billing goes, in case somebody have questions. I have to keep up with Medicare and Medicaid. I know that guy that just came in, that guy, we're going to bill him through Medicare and Medicaid. But here's the thing. What if we have a copayment? So if he comes into the office and he has a copay, you know what I'm saying? I'm going to do what? I'm going to say, let me see your Medicaid card. So I'm going to see his Medicare card, Part A. I'm going to see his Medicaid card, Part B. His Medicaid card is going to pay for the copayment, but it depends on what that Medicaid is. If that Medicaid is Q and B and you're not special needs, guess what? That does not cover your cost of your copay. But if he is Q and B, that's going to cover your copay. So Q&B Special Needs is a program that Humana has if you make a certain amount of money or if you get a certain amount of money. You have to make and or receive through the government, through disability, less than $1,250. I'm just going to say around there. It's 1,200 something. But that goes up every year. But let's just say that you're getting disability check and your disability check has been $1,200 even, right? Remember, you get a raise every year, cost of living raise. So you have had Q&B for the last 5 years. Q&B also sends you a Humana card. On that Humana card, they send you an amount of money. It's usually $175. That $175 comes automatic as long as you're on Q&B. What happens when the next cost of living comes up? You're at $1,200. The next cost of living comes up, the government pays you $1,260. Your QMB just went away. $175 will not be administered to that card anymore. That'll make you flip, wouldn't it? Because if you're getting 1,200 plus the 175, you're like, hey, I'm getting 1,375 because that's the way you look at it. You don't go, on this card is 175 a month, and you discard it as financial income. No, because you can pay food with it, you can pay gas with it, you can pay off your phone bill, you can pay things like that. You can pay with it, and it's really for if you need you need a blood pressure machine, you can just go, boom, buy a blood pressure machine. That's what it's for. That's $175 a month. You've had it for the last 5 years. Now it's gone because you're making $5 more a month. QMB is gone. What you going to do? You're going to call Humana and say, what just happened? Well, they're going to tell you, we sent you a letter that you involuntarily disqualified yourself from the program. You're no longer QMB. What are you? You are SLMB now. That's what happened. And because you're SLMB, when you went into your podiatrist, which is your PPO, when you went into your podiatrist says, you no longer have special needs. You owe me $40. You're like, I don't have $40. Right? Well, $40 is your copay now. You're like, wait a minute, I was covered. You no longer have QMB, you have SLMB. You are no longer covered as far as your copay is concerned. And other things. Now, what if you go for a mental evaluation somewhere? You're going to have to pay for that out of pocket because Humana doesn't cover it. That's what happens. So them acronyms mean something. Now you just lost $175. You're still Medicaid, but you're SLMB. But when they look it up on a computer, they're going to say, you're not Medicaid. No, what they should say is you're not QMB, which means you have to pay for your copay. Your Part B is no longer there. That's what they're really saying. Part B is the copay. So it's just there's a lot of stuff when it comes to healthcare, and you kind of learn that by bumping your head against these healthcare walls and then finding it out for yourself that I'm not covered because of this. I'm covered here, but I'm not covered there. So what you have to do is in open enrollment, and this goes for everybody who has a job, your company that you work for, whatever your job is, if you're working full-time, your company pays your insurance. So I don't know where you work. I don't need to know where you work. But your company is paying for your insurance. When a company is paying for your insurance, they're paying an insurance company. That insurance company has an open enrollment every year. And I think it happens 3 times a year. And one is coming up. So at the end of December, one is coming up at the end of December. So there's going to be an open enrollment going into the new year. If you're looking at your insurance, let's just say that you just got married, or you had a kid, or something changed in your life that's dramatic, and you've been working for this company for, 10 years or so. You've been okay because you have insurance. But here's the thing, your open enrollment dictates what kind of insurance you have. So if you don't go and another thing, if you miss some companies, if you miss your open enrollment, you are no longer covered. So when I worked in, as an administrator or a legislative aide for the House of Representative, I got a call from a lady crying saying, my husband works for the post office. This lady didn't work at all. Her husband goes out, he's in his 50s. She's like, this man goes out, he works. She's crying now, and I'm the legislative aide. She's calling there for the legislator. Hardly ever do you talk to the legislator. You're always going to talk to the LA, the legislative aide, right? So she's telling me my husband is a post office worker. He goes out, he has to walk and all this. He takes a bunch of medicine. And what happened is we missed open enrollment because they sent out a letter, which is the company, not the insurance company, the company you work for. So you guys need to be aware of this. If you get that letter in the mail, do not toss that letter aside. You get that letter in the mail, it's talking open enrollment. It's going to tell you the company, the insurance company that you work with. You have to read that because it's telling you when to when where you can apply. Even if you've been with the company for a minute, you have to know this. You're looking at it, you're going, open enrollment is on this date. If you do not have that conversation with your boss and then go and sign with the insurance company, you will be without insurance. You will not be covered. So with this case, the guy, they got the letter, but they got the letter late and they missed the open enrollment date. So she went to get his medicine. They said, you're no longer covered. It's going to cost you $500 or whatever for all of his medicine. And she breaks down because they don't have $500 extra for medicine, not to mention continually paying it. Every time he runs out, boom, until we can get back on our insurance. So what I did was I said, who's his boss? And she said, his name is so-and-so, Dave or whatever. I said, what's his number? She gave me his number. I said, okay, let me go ahead and handle this. I'll call you back or whatever. Boom, I hang up the phone with her. I'm pissed. I grab the phone. I call his number and I talk to the postmaster. He's like, David, whatever his name is. And I answer and I go, Dave, this is Anthony from the Ohio House of Representative, Representative Coyer's office. How you doing today? And he's like, I'm fine. How are you? He already knows he's in trouble. And he pretty much knows what this call is about. And I was like, I just spoke to Mrs. So-and-so. She called me crying because her husband missed open enrollment date because they got their letters late. Tell me what you can do about that. He was like, you know what? I can do something about this. But see, before she made that call, she was calling Dave to do something about it. And he didn't want to do anything. He was like, I can't do anything. My hands are tied, blah, 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 blah. So she called me. Now, he knows that he's in trouble because if he doesn't do something about it, he's going to lose his position. So what is a postmaster? He's elected to be postmaster. He's going to lose his job. That lady called me back a week later, and she called me back crying again. She said, thank you. I was like, what's going on? She said, my husband and I were able to get into enrollment. We were able to get our insurance. I'm able to get his medicine and blah, blah, blah. When the representative came in, he says, oh, you're the one. I'm like, what happened? He didn't know I was his LA because they weren't in session. So when he comes in, he says, I walked into the pharmacy and the pharmacist said, thank you. And I'm like, what happened? He said, well, he's telling them the story of how all of a sudden he's able to get his insurance and blah, blah, blah. So there was a ripple effect. And all the people who were trying to get insurance were all able to go and get insurance, even though they worked in different places. He was like, you don't know how many people you helped. And obviously I didn't. But like I said, you got to understand that. If you don't watch and understand insurance company, you're going to be paying for COBRA. Now, what is COBRA? COBRA is an insurance that covers you if you don't have insurance. The problem is COBRA is very, 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 very expensive. But that's the insurance that's going to take your Take it. If you're not terminal, if you're not terminal, Cobra's going to look at your situation and they're going to say, you have diabetes, you have type 2 diabetes, and you need your insulin. Okay, that's not terminal. You can die from it. Yeah, but it's not, you're not dying. Now, if they said, oh, you have stage 4 cancer, we're not taking you. Why? Why aren't they taking you? Because of the cost. They know you're going to go and spend a lot of time in a hospital room. And you're going to charge them. They're going to lose a lot of money. Even if you're a child, they're going to be like, that child's terminal, we're not doing it. That child has lymphoma or whatever, we're not doing it. But if that child had a disease that was manageable and that child can grow up, we'll take that. We'll take your payment. And this insurance thing, I mean, when you really look into insurance, it's a lot deeper because you even have the military that says, we will not take anyone who is a transgender or transgendering whilst they're in the military. Why won't they do it? Because when veterans, no matter if you go to war or not, if you got hurt in the military, you can sue the military. You can. You can make a veteran's claim against them that goes from 1% to 100%, and sometimes even more than that. If you have, not 1%, 10% to 100%. So if you got somebody who is 100%, you're looking at like $7,000 a month that's paid out to them. I have a friend who went to war, came back, his head was all messed up. He is 160%. He probably gets 10 grand a month from the military in perpetuity. Military is like several $million in debt right now. That's because they keep sending people to war. Now, if you was on a bivouac, that means we're fake camping. We're setting everything up. We're running an impromptu. Well, it's not impromptu, but basically we're setting up everything. It's a mock war. That's what a bivouac is. We're going to go out and get in the sleeping bags, and we're going to put up GP mediums and GP larges, and we're going to set this whole thing up, camouflaging. 3 days we're out there playing war. This is what you're here for. You go out there and you're I don't know, you're in one of these trucks and boom, it rolls over your ankle. Clearly not your fault. Somebody backed into you with a deuce and a half. That is a huge truck, by the way. It's a military personnel truck, but you can carry other things than a deuce and a half. But somebody backs over your leg and a deuce and a half, bam! They put you right out of the military. That's it. You're lame duck. That's it. You're gonna get 100%. You're gonna get 100%. If you went to war and you came back and your mind is messed up, guess what? You're probably gonna get 100%. So this is why the military is constantly paying people out. And like I said, but you got to understand when it comes to insurance, the military is their own insurance. So they look at what injury you have and how much they think that you're owed for that injury and how long it's going to last. I am a 10% war veteran. I have 10% disability, right? So they're paying me for the rest of my life, my 10%. Can I go and file for more? You can go file for more. What happens is they pull your case, they look at all your injuries, and they say, yeah, you're actually worth 30%. Boom, because we didn't consider this. They have new stuff that comes out every year saying if you were in Camp Lejeune, if you were in Fort Hood, if you went to Afghanistan, if you were in Desert Freedom, and you were exposed to this, and this, they're like, you can go ahead and file another claim. which means you have to call a representative. You have to go in and see them, say, hey, I want to file a claim. They go through all the paperwork. They get your stuff from Washington, and boom, you file a claim. Somebody looks at it and they go, yes, no, yes, no, yes, no. Boom. You get a letter saying that your claim has either been denied or approved. And now you're going to get more money or the same money in while you're in. That's how that works. They're their own insurance company. But they will not take a transgender. But they will take a homosexual. But if you say, I'm transgendering into, a man, and you're a woman, it's not going to work in the military. The military is going to say, if you transgender, we will kick you out today. We will kick you right out of the military. And they'll tell you that to your face in front of everybody, including your mother. My child has dysphoria. Your child is 25 years old. If your child transgenders, not if your daughter starts dressing up like a man, not if your daughter starts dating other women, even though that's frowned upon. But if your daughter tries to go under surgery, if she tries to get puberty blockers, if she tries to do anything that has to do medically with transgendering, she would be exited stage right out of the military. Because any injury that she occurs while she's in the military transgendering, the military has to pay for. She will be kicked out quickly. Not only that, she might be kicked out in under honorable condition, which means you can't go back to the military for anything. You can't go to the military hospital. You can't file any claims of that you being hurt from 10% up to 100%. Nothing. That's completely it. You are discharged under honorably. So like I said, the military is its own insurance, and you got to be careful of what the military is saying once you enter into it. Because you might want to go down an avenue and they'll say, we don't care, about the whole lunacy of what's going on outside of us. We care about what's happening inside of us. Now, the military is looking at incorporating more females. And when you incorporate more females into especially into a battlefield, you're going to have a lot more, you're going to have a lot of problems. You're going to have a lot more problems, especially when you're in the field. So I don't know what they're going to do, but a lot of these females who are very, independent, I can do it, this, that, and they're going to end up joining the military. They're going to be forced to join the military. And there are already a good amount of females in the military, but I'm going to tell you something. My sergeant was a female. She's one of the best looking women I've ever seen. She was very feminine. She had a husband and 3 kids. And he was a civilian. She did just fine. I mean, she made sergeant. She did great. You know what I mean? She was out in the field. She kept her femininity. She looked great in BDUs and all that other stuff. Do I want to fight beside her? No. No damn way. I admired her for her brilliance. I admired her for her ridiculously good looks. But none of us, I mean, in the hole, in the trenches, would I rather have her or would I rather have the guys who I were bunking with? Can I see her shooting that M16 and blowing somebody's head off? No. There's not one time where she struck me as somebody who would knock somebody off this planet. And if you're in the hole with somebody, I mean, if you're just chilling in a hole, yeah, you get to look at a beautiful female, but nonetheless, there's going to be problems with that. It's a distraction. And you're sitting here wondering, we're in a hole now. We're in another country. Is she going to be able to hold up her own? See, my bunkies could carry me out of a hole. Could Sergeant Thomas carry me out of a hole? Absolutely not. Could I carry her out of a hole? No problem. But if I get hurt and we have to move, and it's just me and her, I'm dead in the water. And that's the big difference between men and women when it comes to being on the front line. I would rather her be, somewhere in the administrative department, telling us what to do, barking orders over a comm or something like that. But to have her in a foxhole with me, let me tell you something. There's only one woman that out of the whole time I was in the military who I could say I would like to have her in the hole with me. Her name was Zerker. Very strong female. And yeah, very, very strong woman. And I could see her knocking people off left and right. But like I said, who do you want in the hole with you? I mean, some of you, some really great women. But just think, if you're in a foreign land, you got M16, you got a 50 cal. Some of you might even have, a 40, a 40 cal on you. And you guys are sitting in a hole hiding in the middle of the night, waiting for whatever enemy to come out of the dirt. And you're going to have to knock them off because you are the vanguard. Think about it. Do you want this woman next to you, or do you want a guy next to you? If you ever been in the military, you're going to say, I want a guy. You want a guy. Because you want somebody who's got the nerve that you got. Also, you're going to want somebody who's going to be able to get up and move as fast as you can. And while I was in the military, we had this mock war. They love to do mock wars. And one of them is called Paragon Trails. And your squad runs through a battle scene. And while we were running through this mock battle scene, we came out of the woods. We had to drop down, the whole squad, and low crawl through under this barbed wire fence. You cannot stand up. And it's sand. We already just got done running a mile through the woods. All you can see is the moon and your cat's eye, and you're hearing M80s go up over your head, boom, boom. So you know where you're eventually going, but you're running, you know what I'm saying? And I mean, it was a lot of fun, but it's just like, wow, this is what it would be like. You're running in the dark, no light whatsoever, and it's just mad hustle. Once we came out of the woods, those lights hit us, everybody dropped to the ground. Boom, we had the low crawl up under, there are live tracer rounds being fired over our head from an M60, I think. They're being fired over our heads. And we're low crawling because we're scared. We're young. We're 19. We're low crawling. And one of the guys who is in my squad could not move any further. He reached muscle failure. That was it for him. He reached muscle failure. He couldn't move. He didn't have his gun in his hand. He couldn't defend himself. If you ever reach muscle failure, Hardaway, you probably know what I'm talking about. You are completely expended of all energy. And all you can do is wait until your body gathers up some type of energy. You're completely exhausted. And in some case, the person cannot get enough energy to even stand for a long time. It depends on how dilapidated you are and what kind of shape you're in. Nonetheless, so while I was low crawling, there is a way to low crawl with your weapon so your weapon doesn't get, okay, your M16 has holes in it, right? And it's an air-cooled rifle. Know this, it's a $20,000 M16. You can get M16s for $1,000. When you start looking at Bushmaster, you're getting, higher. The ones that the military get you are $20,000. So you don't want to get sand to crawl down the barrel, because this is what you have to shoot out of, right? So what you have to do was put the M16 on your hand have to tie the strap on your hands, because if you don't, the M16 will be bouncing on your hands every time you move, and it'll hurt. It's only 7.5 pounds, but a crack, crack, crack. No, so you got to take it. You got to move it up around your hands or move it around your shoulders, and then you got to and you have to also low crawl with your legs. That's how you get through faster. If you're just dragging with your arms, you're gonna exhaust yourself, and that's what happened to him. He didn't know how to low crawl, and he was completely exhausted, especially after that run. So what I did was I was low crawling, and I saw him. I was like, grab your weapon. I low crawled up to him. I was like, grab your weapon. He grabbed his weapon. I grabbed him, and I started low crawling with him until we got out of the barbed wire fence. I stood him up, and we dashed out of it. You think a woman could have done that? This guy is all of 230. He was out of shape. You think a woman could have done that? It all depends. This is the difference between women and men when it comes to the military. Do I think a woman could have done it? No. And I mean, you can get some of these women who are doing this CrossFit stuff, maybe them, yeah, because they're in great shape. Maybe them, if they kept their mind on the task, yeah. But those are one-offs. Those are 1 in a million. The average chick wouldn't have been able to do it. And that's the biggest thing about the military. It's called the buddy system. When you're in the military, you're going to have to pick a buddy. The buddy I picked, or that was picked for me, was 6'6". We had to dig a foxhole in freaking January, and we were in New Jersey. What do you think that was like? We dug that. We were digging, and you're digging with an entrenching tool, which is a shovel about this big. So we're out there digging, and his name Blue. Blue's from South Carolina. I'm like, what? I'm like, Blue, we from South Carolina. I'm like, you gotta be kidding me. So what's going on with Blue? He's 6'6". What's happening? He's freezing is what's happening. So while he's freezing, I'm like, Blue, you gotta dig. He's busy complaining to me the whole time because he's freezing. He's not used to it. So I had to do most of the digging. You see what I mean? I'm not gonna get rid of him. I'm not gonna go tell the sergeant on him. This is it. We have to dig that foxhole down almost 5 feet. And then we have to crouch down in it because the wind that's coming off the water is hitting us real hard. That's why he was so cold. It was the wind chill factor. So once we got it down so much, I was like, Blue, duck down. The wind go right over his head. Then we had to hook up our, bunk beds because they were in our tents. We had to do, all of that. And then we had to do 2-hour shifts. You 2 hours, me 2 hours, you 2 hours, me 2 hours. Do you think Blue stayed out there for 2 hours? Absolutely not. He'd come in and wake me up, and I didn't complain one time. I get out of my bunk bed, throw my coat on, or not my bunk bed, but my sleeping bag, throw my coat on, get right out there, dip down in the cold, wait for my 2 hours, go get him, boom. I don't think he did 2 hours at all. But lucky for me, I caught a break because one of the guys who was there, because we're all talking and whatnot, and one of the guys who was there walked out of the sergeant's tent, and he didn't have a coat on. We was like, what's going on? They're like, why don't you have a coat on? He said, because we have a potbelly stove. So during my 2-hour shift, I would go hang in there, get warm, come out, get warm, come out, go get Blue, tell him the same thing, and that's how we did our bivouac. Just thought you guys would like that story. But yeah, so women in the military is going to be excuse me, more women in the military is going to be a problem. I don't think women should bunk up with men whatsoever. I think if you're going to have women in the field, then you make sure that these women are going to be paired with each other because they're going to understand each other. However, you're going to have females who don't want to be paired up with another female because they want to be paired up with somebody who's stronger than them. I mean, you're going to come across, those situations. I want somebody who's faster than me, stronger than me, so on and so forth. And all that makes a difference when you're doing your 7 mile treks, and you're walking in the sand and then you're on the side of the road and you're going to the grenade range. You'll notice, who's doing what. And if you got to stand for hours, it's such a big difference between us and them. It's a huge difference. If you got to throw that grenade a certain distance, what are the chances that woman's going to throw it the same distance? You know what I mean? It's like she's not going to throw it as far as I am. What about her accuracy? Are women as accurate as men are? Well, I'm going to tell you statistically, I don't really know the answer to that. I know the number 2 sniper in the world was a woman. I think she came out of Belarus or something like that. Number 1 sniper was a man. He was American, I believe. But like I said, when you compare women and men in the military, so during your in processing and during your basic training is 6 weeks. During the basic training, the women are over here in these barracks, the men are over here in these barracks. During the basic training, what the sergeants would do, the drill sergeants, the DIs, they would hit the women up against the men. And they know that we're all young and horny, and they say, hey, stay away from the women. And you stay away from them. But they know that the women were very competitive women. And so what they would do is they wouldn't have us run against them or anything like that. But what they would do is they would have them come over and challenge us in PT. And you want to talk about getting fired up. We were like, man, ain't no woman gonna shoot. The women would lose when it comes to the time of running. They would lose when it comes to push-ups, but they will kick your ass when it came to sit-ups. We cannot compete with women in sit-ups. We're talking healthy women. So we're talking about on the same slate. The women were beating our ass in sit-ups. Kicking our ass. And I'm not even sure why, but they dusted us off. And we had to swallow our pride. We were like, T.I. Jane, badass, Another thing is the oval that the barracks are built on. It's an oval. We would have to run around that oval because it was a particular distance for some of our 2-mile times. So we would have to run around that oval, or they had a 2-mile track that they had, and that track was a gravel track, and we would have to run on that for our 2-mile time. And so, the track was a 2-mile, the oval was just an exercise, but there was still some times they had on there. So they'd be like, ready, set, and all of the females, there's hundreds of them watching you. So they pretty much found out that boys perform better when a girl is watching them, just like a cheerleader. And they're not necessarily cheering you on, but they're watching you. And because they're watching you, it made you perform better. So there's a thing there. But when it came to AIT, your AIT is your profession, what you're going to study. Your dorms are in the same dorms as the girls' dorms. So the women sleep upstairs. You sleep on the 2nd floor. The women are on the 3rd floor. The first floor is administration and all that other stuff. So of course we found our way to the third floor, sometimes. But nonetheless, now we're exercising together. We're marching together and all that because it's just different. Now it's a mixed squad. It's females and men, mixed squad. And what you're gonna notice is you're doing PT together. So when you're just doing, your basic PT, you're gonna have a woman that's running right beside you. The majority of the time, the woman is not gonna keep up with you. She's just not. And I'm not saying that they can't. I'm saying the majority of the time, they're not gonna keep up with you. But you're not trying to burn them. This is not a race. This is just PT. But you can see the ones who are falling out. You know what I'm saying? Who are slowing down. So even in PT, it's a big difference. And when you're in full dress, rucksack, weapon, the whole nine, you're waiting in line to go to chow or go to another class. If a sergeant comes out and says, "I told you guys not to talk," and then what he'll say is, "Platoon," and then somebody, then the squad leader goes, "Squad," and and the drill sergeant goes, "Attention," and you come to attention, then he'll say, "Half right, face," and we all know what it is. We're getting punished because we were talking. So he'll say half right, we'll face half right, and then he'll say assume a position. We got to get in the push-up position. We'll be there, and he'll say beat your face, and up, 2, 3, 1, 1, 2, 3, 2. You think the women are keeping up with us? They can't do as many push-ups as we can. They can do as many as the average women in the military can, though. But they cannot keep up with us. The thing about the military gears is the gears do not discriminate. There's no female rucksack. There's no female M16. There's no female duffel bag. There's no female A and B bag. None of that. There is A and B bag. There is duffel bag. There is rucksack. They have to keep up with us. And some of these women are like really tiny. And some of the guys, we had one guy who was our carrier for our flag. He was a tiny dude, but he did okay. So I'm just saying there's a huge difference. And that difference, when you see it in the military, you have to think, who do I want to go into battle with? I'm just giving you guys situations that I've seen. Like I said, you got to think who you want to go into battle with. Yes, the females a lot of them are phenomenal. A lot of them are very fit. But your top people in performance is always a man. Always a man that's doing something that's this is going to go on our records. Always a man. A female cannot keep up with us. But yeah, I just wanted to talk about that, talk about insurance and stuff like that. So some of the stuff, you guys will never have anything to do with. But you might, sometime later, you might have a child that's going, that grows and says, "Hey, I want to be in the military." Tell that child to join the Air Force. Don't tell that child to join the Marines. Don't tell that child to join the Army. Tell that child to go into an administrative field. The Air Force does not have strict exercise like we do. Now, if that child wants to go and, Semper Fi, then hey, all the way. But you gotta know that the men that you're surrounded with are highly, highly, highly aggressive men. And I mean that. Same thing in the Army. They're going to be aggressive men. And if you think you can handle it, get out there and handle it. That is completely your call. But if you don't want to be in the field with a bunch of smelly men and, pinned down in a hole, don't do it. Because if they send you across the water, that's exactly what's going to happen. That's exactly what's going to happen. It's your boy Tone 202. God loves you. So do I. Peace out.